Hello. All right, I'm like 90% sure that things are working, so we will go ahead and run with it. Hi, welcome to Tuesday office hours. I'm Tracy Lenz. I'm a petroleum engineer and also an appraiser. So I am the CEO and owner of Pecantree. We are an appraisal firm. We do oil and gas mineral appraisals, and we also have an online app called Pecan Estimate, where it's like an automated version of what we do. That's like the starting point. Anything that you need to know. That we can just use our model in order to come up with. So that's what we're doing here today. We are answering questions related to anything on that topic. So if you're new to minerals, new to oil and gas, new to just even what a well is, if you got a deed, if you have anything that you have questions on, if you have questions on our app, hello, Alice Hooten. Wait, where is my little thing? Here you go. Hello. Happy Tuesday. I have my snazzy suit that Whitney and Fam helped me pick out. So I have my Thai tea. So hopefully the caffeine will kick in soon and the high folks awkwardness will start to fade as we go through this live stream. It probably won't be the longest live stream in the history of ever live streams because trying to make this one relatively concise, not going to do a news segment, not going to do anything involved. I just wanted to hop on, see if there's any questions, answer a couple that I'd gotten in. If you do have questions, make sure to put them in either the chat or email to Tracy at pecantree.og or Kelly at pecantree.og. She is back today. Last week, our team was on vacation for Canada Day. And this week, we're all back in the office, or in our offices, I should say. Let's see. So checking out my stats, making sure everything is working like it should. I still don't trust myself with this whole live stream thing. I've been doing videos and this whole like setup that's in front of me since late 2020, I think was my first. Maybe early 2021. But the whole live stream part of it just adds a different complexity to it. So let's see, we'll go ahead and jump in to a question that I have been getting. Hi, Mary. How are you? Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is safe and dry, especially if you're in the Texas area like we are. We're really close to where all the floods were, so hearts and prayers and thoughts go out to all those families. So hopefully anyone watching this, you and your loved ones are safe and dry, and all the other things that can go wrong on 4th of July also went safely for you also. So we had a good, safe 4th of July. Here at home, fireworks were canceled, so we just, had the festivities with the kiddos. So that was our weekend. Okay, that first question. That's right. That's what I was doing. This might be a particularly scatterbrained one. So yeah, if you are watching this is your chance to like ask a question and get free advice on stuff. Okay. So the first question I was gonna address was something that we've been getting, here and there, and that's related to how the depths work in our app. So if you're not familiar with our app, I'll just do, I don't trust myself today to like show the screen, so I'll just talk through it. You get to look at me, you get to just listen as you're doing, I don't know, laundry, dishes, work, I don't know, whatever you're doing. We'll just chat today. Our app will take our engineering model and take all the reservoirs that we have and all the estimated reserves, and it will place a value on that based on your inputs. And so one of the questions that we had was how it handles depth-based things. So if, say, you have a lease down to 3,000 feet, does it consider the fact that you don't have deeper than that? Or maybe that you only own shallow rights, or maybe you've only leased the wolf camp or something. How does our app take that and consider it in the evaluation that it does? And right now, our app assumes that you own all of the depths and that all of the depths are either leased or unleased based on what you input into it. And that is, it's probably a pretty fair assumption for most people. If you're in an area where things are, the depth matters, you probably are a little more advanced in terms of leasing at maintaining certain depths for leasing. Hopefully you're at least working with someone if it's any significant value, if you're starting getting into like leasing different depths with different rates and whatnot. But it's becoming more and more common, and I say that most people only have like all depths are leased or unleased, or they own all depths, they don't own all depths. But it's not like a 99% of people. It's more like a 60% of people at this point, because there's just so many areas of the country that have multiple formations of things that are happening that are interesting. And that, so because of how our model works, we do have all of the reservoirs broken up, and we're calculating it based on the reservoirs. So because of that, we know what the value is based on depth, but we haven't built it into the front-facing part of the model yet, or front-facing part of the app that would display the value by depth. The only place right now that you could get that is if you got the Pecan Estimate report, which is right now our only report, but there'll be eventually more versions of the report if you're watching a recording of this later on. And all of these will be available on our YouTube channel for watching later. And then also, if I ever say anything interesting, which with my ramblings, it's hit or miss sometimes, but I'll take a clip of it and make an actual little video of it or something. But on our app, if you've got the Pecan Estimate report, we do break it down by reservoir, and you could see what the value is by reservoir, and you would have to know what the depths are of those reservoirs at this point. Eventually, we will be breaking out the value by depth. So if you have something that is depth limited, or you're trying to lease below a certain depth, or just understand what the value is by depth, you'll be able to see that from our app also. Okay. Good job, Mary. You're taking advantage of this lull that we have to get all those questions in. Okay, so Mary asks, we all got checks from Antero. Wow, they took out ad valorem and severance taxes. Could you explain what these are? Quite a percentage came out of our checks. Yes. So, so did they also take out? Sometimes if you didn't submit a W-9, they'll also take out additional income taxes or more than. But we'll hit these two questions right here. So ad valorem, if you can think of ad valorem taxes as property taxes. So the same way that you pay property taxes on a house, in most places that I know of, annual property taxes might be being rolled into your annual, monthly payment, but you're paying it to the county most likely. It's a county tax that's usually instituted by state, so each state has its own rule on what whether or not they charge it or not. But ad valorem, let's see, Mary, where are your minerals again? My initial guess would be Texas, but for some reason I'm thinking West Virginia. So correct me if it's not one of those two. But states I can think of offhand that have ad valorem tax would be, for example, I believe Colorado does, Texas. I think I hit the ones that I know off the top of my head anyway. So that'd be a property tax, and that's typically in Texas. We'll just say Texas because that's the one that we deal with the most. Tyler County, West Virginia. Okay, that's what I was thinking. It was West Virginia, but most ad valorem tax I deal with is Texas, so that's what I was curious. Okay, I will say off the bat that West Virginia ad valorem is not as fresh in my mind as in terms of like what all the rules are, but for Texas at least, we'll just deal with that one. And a lot of times they are handled similarly. It's the value of the producing properties on the first day of the year. And there's typically a pretty rehearsed equation on how to come up with that. It's considered more of a mass appraisal that the county is instituting on your valuation. So it's similar to an appraisal, but it's typically not what you would sell it. Like if you were to sell the deed to that, it's only what you would sell the producing part of the deed. So if you were to think of it like if you owned a big old, 3-acre plot of ranch land, and there was a little house that had a tenant in that, and you're renting that out, you're only paying those ad valorem property taxes on that part with the little house on it that's developed, is what we would call it. And you're not paying that property taxes on all the rest of it that's sitting there doing nothing. So that's typically how the ad valorem is handled. And then the severance taxes is more like sales tax, I guess, if you want to think of it like it's just it's a percentage or income tax maybe. It's not direct income tax, but it's probably most equivalent to like a sales tax, where every time you a transaction happens of that product, a percentage of it goes to the state. A percentage of that sale goes to the state. Usually it's like 5 to 10%. And then there's credits that can sometimes make it go down to 2 or less % for some products. Some states, gas and oil are charged the same. Some states, it's charged differently based on that state's rules. So, but usually that's in the 5 to 10%. And then usually ad valorem is in the 2 to 5%, if you were to think of it as percentage of your check. So yeah, 15% of your check it can be quite a bit. And then there might be additional taxes which is what I mentioned early on. There might be additional taxes that the company is taking out on your behalf to cover income tax in case you didn't report what state you're in or something. They just need to know how much to withhold for you and send in for you. So that sometimes can be quite a bit, like 30, 40%. That's why I've wanted to mention that one. I'm assuming that you send in, we've talked before, so I'm assuming that you send in the stuff that they need. Hey, puppy. Krista wants to be a part today. Yeah, so that's what that is. Okay. Hi, Lori. Welcome. I haven't seen your name before, but welcome if this is your first time, and thank you for chatting if it's not. So your question is it a good idea to sell half of my mineral rights on land currently being leased? Drilling will be happening soon. So that is definitely a strategy that I've seen, and I'm usually in favor of, actually. I would think of it, and this is usually what convinces me that it's not a bad idea. If you were to sell half of your minerals and keep half, and this usually is an option when there's about to be something happening, and that's if you think of a wave of value. So you have nothing's happening. There's desert land and pasture, like goat pasture land where nothing's happening. And then like someone starts poking around, like doing some seismic studies. There's a couple like test wells happening a couple miles away. Your value starts to go up, and then as production and as drilling gets closer to you and it gets closer to your land, and as the reservoirs gets more proven and the industry gets more excited about your acreage, your value slowly goes up. And if you think about it, like you're in a developing part of the city where there's more traffic lights coming in. You got a Starbucks on the corner now. There's a new shopping mall down the corner, and then like Samsung built a plant, right? So your property values will start going up and up and up. So that's usually when you're kind of riding that wave up is when you'll start to get these offers for like selling half or usually selling all of it is what they're wanting you to do. And the funny thing is they're usually offering like half the value, because they're hoping that you only realize you're down here on the wave, and really it's all the way, it's come up the wave quite a bit since then. So, yeah, and usually, so you're saying that it's leased at 20%, and you have 1.3 acres. Typically, when you're getting these offers, it is already leased, and there's either about to be permits to drill, or there already are permits to drill. That would be my guess, if I had to just guess what's happening here. And as you go up that wave, there's a very high likelihood that the wave will continue going up. But the unknown is how far up it's going to go, right? Because if you think about the maximum point of value of your property is when all of the wells have been drilled. We know exactly how many wells there's going to be. All of the reservoirs have been like tapped into and ready to start producing, but they haven't actually started producing yet. So there's a couple things that make this the max value. So we know when this is all going to happen. We know how many wells are going to happen. We know what operator is going to be operating it. We know that the reservoir's there to a certain enough degree that they drilled that many wells. And that in itself has taken out a lot of risk, that those royalties, really the value of your acreage is all on the chance of a check coming to you, right? And how many checks will come your way. And then what that total amount of will be in your bank account at the end of the day, right? So if you think of that being the ultimate value, it's how certain are we that a check will be coming, and then how certain are we on how big that check's going to be. So every time we increase that certainty in one way, either time or size, then that increases the value. But there's a chance that it's not as good as projected. Maybe they drill the first well, it's kind of a dud. They don't end up coming back and drilling the rest of the permitted wells. Maybe they drill all 4 wells, and then a massive virus kills commodity prices across the world. And, instead of getting $100 a barrel, you're getting 30. Maybe they drill all the wells, but it's mostly gas instead of oil. Like they didn't get the right mix that they were expecting. There's a lot of things that can happen that is still an unknown, even when you're kind of in that max, like almost max. Like we never really know what the max is until after it happens. So if you're going up that value wave, and you're not sure where that max is going to happen, one strategy is to sell half of it and keep half. Because then if it doubles in value, you have the same amount that you had before. And if it crashes, or if those wells never get drilled, if the commodity prices go away, if that offer ended up being some bogus offer that they shouldn't have ever offered you for, like if something happens where that wasn't actually the value and they guessed wrong, then you already got your half out of it. And so you didn't lose. If it cuts in half, you didn't lose anything. You still have, you kind of cashed out. You're playing with house money at this point is another way to think of it. Yeah, so playing with house money is usually how I actually think of it in my head. That selling half and keeping half. And it doesn't have to be half. It could be a quarter, a fourth. If you have 1.3 acres, it might be hard to sell less than half. Usually there's some minimum amount of transaction that people want to make it worth all the paperwork and documentation and time and filings and all those things. But yeah, have you been offered like rights to, or has someone offered to sell or to buy half of your acreage? I'd be curious. Also, I'm thinking if someone's offering to buy half of 1.3 acres, you have to be in a pretty hot area of the country. And 20% royalty, it's probably not like Lee or Eddy County or something, but yeah, it's probably a pretty active area. I could live on Thai food. I really could. Okay. Laura, you say, got an offer for about $5,600 per acre with my 20% royalty, which equaled around $8,000. Okay. Yeah, so 5,600 for, and it's, is it developed or undeveloped yet? Like, are you getting checks in the mail yet? Are there permits? Do you know? Yes. Yes, developed. I asked that poorly, didn't I? Is it, are you getting checks in the mail? We'll just start there. So 5,600 per acre, 20 per, I'm gonna try to guess where this is. So 5,600 an acre, that would be one of our, on our cartoon map, we have kind of a green, yellow, orange, red, purple kind of scale that you can see for free. Okay, awaiting drilling. So it's 5,600 without any production. So that is probably, I'm going to guess Midland Basin. But there's definitely a lot of other basins it could be. That is kind of the typical realm of the 20% royalty is the one that's making me think maybe not Midland Basin. Those are usually either 12.5% or 25%. Like, it's either a really old lease or a brand new one that they're, really, we're able to squeeze the last drop out of, but 20% could be a lot of places. That could be Eagleford, for example, like South Texas. Yeah, the 5,600 an acre, that's pretty standard. Like, they're coming in to drill probably at least 4 wells is what that sounds like. And pretty decent area, but not the 10,000 an acre that some parts of like Midland Basin would be. This would be like outskirts of a basin or the center of a smaller basin. But I totally understand if you don't want to say where. I'm just having fun speculating. Yeah, so I think that you're probably right on the cusp of being too small to ask for any less than half. And I would be surprised if they haven't offered half, that if they would go for half. Because then you're basically selling like a table. Like, there's tables that are worth $4,000, right? Or I almost said a car. I don't think you could get a $4,000 car anymore. Oh, okay, Haynesville. Got it. Shreveport, Louisiana. Yeah. So you probably have 4 or 5 Haynesville wells about to be drilled on your acreage. That'd be my guess, without knowing where you are. Hey, these days you could probably get them to do whatever, as long as you're. The more important thing is to be able to say that, yes, for sure I will sell. Like, if you spend the hour it would take to get me to the finish line on this, then I will for sure cross it. There's a lot of times people are just trying to like test the waters, like, kick the tires, see what their stuff is worth, and they don't actually sell. And so mineral buyers end up getting really picky, I guess. For like, deals are kind of hard to come by right now, and there's a really big spread between what people are asking and what people are bidding. So the bid-ask spread is wide, as they would say. So yeah, you'd, I don't know. I'd be curious to see how this went down. I imagine you could, but you're like right on the cusp of being too small of a transaction for anyone other than one of the major buyers to be interested in like half. So anyway, curious on that. Yeah, usually the major buyers are more willing to do like blanket offers, and they're offering everybody in the county something, and they can do more transactions that are smaller because they're just doing more of them. They can, like, there's common title between some other people that they're looking at. Or if you're talking to someone who already owns in the section, that would be another way to be able to transact on a small amount. So if you, like selling to a cousin, for example, or sister, friend, brother, someone who has acreage in the same section, to where title will be really easy to verify. because that's usually the most expensive part of this whole thing, is just verifying that people own what they're saying they own. If you know what 1 acre is worth, then you know what 300 acres or 0.1 acres is worth. So that part isn't the hard part. It's figuring out how many you're actually buying, because due diligence is usually the responsibility of the buyer when it comes to minerals. So if you weren't sure you owned that 1.3 acres and you sold it, you would just need to be sure that you had the right type of deed. And if you have the right type of deed, which is, I'm not going to say, I'm not a lawyer. I am not an expert in that side of it, but I do know that if a standard, we'll just say a standard deed that doesn't, guarantee ownership or anything, would typically make it to where if the buyer bought something that you didn't actually have, then so be it. They spent their money. Like, sorry. So that's it's kind of interesting. There's at least a couple things that are in the seller's favor in this industry. Not many, but there's a couple. Okay. Okay, I got an email. I was making sure that wasn't. Ooh, I'm getting chats. Let me pull up my team to see what I'm getting notifications on. Okay. Yeah, side note, I can't see, like, if y'all ever just want to, like, sit in and listen, I don't see, like, who's listening in. I see the number of people listening in. You're welcome, Lori. Always happy to help on this stuff. It's, there's not a lot of great information out there on these things, so always happy to talk endlessly on these things. Okay, lost my train of thought already. Oh yeah, that's what I was saying. I can see how many people are listening in, but I can't see who's listening in. So don't ever feel like you're becoming known, or by listening in you're getting on our mailing list or anything. Like, I don't even know how to do that. If I could, I don't even think you can. But anyway, okay. Is any of the pecantree folks watching right now? Have we gotten any other questions that, like, have come in that you want me to hit before we call it a wrap today? Like I said, this will probably be short. I don't ever think the coffee ever hit today to where I'm high enough energy to go a whole hour again. Not saying that, it would take like 2 questions to get me to go an hour. I'm sure, like, I can talk forever. But I don't have anything else really. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Manor. Sorry, everybody else. Manor is officially my favorite. My favorite subscriber, and my favorite land surveyor, and favorite husband. So that's why he's also a moderator. No one do I trust better than Ryan to take care of any trolls in the comments. So, okay, great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and call it then, and let's see. Yeah, I think next week we're good to go again. I'll do like a full 1 hour office hours, since office hour. Maybe I should just say office hour instead of hours, since it's just one normally. But yeah, I'll be on next week. Feel free to continue sending in your questions. If you're watching this on the replay, you can put the questions in the comments on the YouTube comments, or you can email them to my email here. And we will hit them on the next live stream. And if it's something that needs like a quicker turnaround, you can email them to me, or we have an engineer on call. So emailing it to me, it's like, whether or not I'll have time to respond is honestly usually how interesting your question is on my end. I just have very limited time these days, but we do have an engineer on call option on our website, and that's like if you just need 30 minutes or an hour of just talking, like in a private setting where you can share your documents, and we can look through what you're going through, and more like having a consultation with a lawyer, similar to that, but I would be the person that you're talking to. If you need that, we do have that one. It's a paid thing though, so this is the best place to get your questions, as long as you're okay with it being a public forum. So Lori, you're gonna force my hand here. No, okay. I'm thinking it'd be better to see how things go after drilling than jump on any offers yet. I mean, if you can, yeah. I generally that is my recommendation, is to wait until depending on how confident you are. A buyer would say the best time to sell is right before the wells come online. But if you have a relatively diverse portfolio and you can take a little extra risk, I would hold on to it, because that's the reason they want it, right? It's a good investment. It's like the best time to invest for that reason, right before the wells come on, as it's going up that value wave. That's why they're sending those offers out then. So if you can afford to keep it, or like I said, if you have a very diverse portfolio. Crystal, I have a dog behind me if you hear something. Then yeah, I would keep it. If you don't have a very diverse portfolio, if this is the only oil and gas you have, if it'd really be helpful to have that $4,000 to $8,000 in the bank today for anything else, then I would look at it like you have a single stock. Like everything invested in one basket there. So that's where it's the personal finance. That's where that risk profile really kicks in. So hope that helps. And with that, I will see y'all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Mary. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Alice, aka Mom. Thanks, friends and family and coworkers. I will see y'all next week. All right. Bye. Music. Right when I stop the stream, Crystal goes away. She knows when I'm streaming.